This right here is a suite of deep packet inspection services that FortiGate Firewall can do. Antivirus, web filtering, application control, and I do mean complete application control. Intrusion prevention, email filtering, data leak prevention, voice over IP. This plays into some of the SIP-based trunk issues with public internet. ICAP integration of external groups, and there is one more that's not so obvious because it's up here in policy. SSL inspection. And it is the original next generation firewall before the term next generation firewall existed. Now let me tell you why it's better than a next generation firewall. See, we've got all these security profiles right here. You have everybody in the world talking about next generation firewalls. Let me show you what a next generation firewall does. We have a graphical user interface that will actually show you what a next generation firewall is according to Gartner. I'm going to change my view, my GUI-based view, to only show me the feature sets of a next-generation firewall. We're going to apply that. Now I'm going to come over here to my security profiles. Doesn't that list look a lot smaller now? Gartner says a next-generation firewall is application control and IPS inspection. Well, if that's the difference, give me a UTM firewall. Because a UTM firewall gives me a lot more utility. The reason we put that there was to make Gartner happy. Gartner was telling us, you're not a next generation firewall, you're a UTM firewall. Like, well, yeah we are, but UTM is much more than next generation, so by default, we're next generation. So we put that there to make Gartner happy. I'm here now at Fortinet. That's what's brought me here to show you guys a little bit about Fortinet and what it's like to be behind a FortiGate firewall, which is what Awestruck's all about. Fortinet is the second firewall built by the creators of the Fortinet firewall, FortiGate. The first firewall they built was NetScreen. Anybody here NetScreen in the past? What was revolutionary about NetScreen was they actually created accelerated encryption decryption of VPN tunnels. And that acceleration of VPN tunnels made them better than everybody else in the late 90s and led to who later bought NetScreen. Juniper bought NetScreen. They created an SSL portal solution, initially called IVE. Today I'm not sure what it's called. It was very successful, dominated its segment of the market. That's because it could do the acceleration and accelerated decryption and encryption better than everybody else. That's the original creation of the founders of NetScreen. And the founders went to Juniper on sale to Juniper and found themselves limited in what they could do as far as future development went. Decided to lead and created Fortinet, their second firewall, and everybody built something better the second time around. I like to think FortiGate is that better product. What they wanted to do was the same thing they did for encryption decryption they wanted to do for AV, IPS, and application inspection. So they basically built a firewall that could accelerate AV inspection, IPS inspection, and application inspection. And they saw the market migrating to speeds and feeds that would not be able to be handled by open Intel platforms, or at that point RSM didn't exist, but RSM platforms or Cadmium type platforms that are out there today. So what they wanted to do was build a firewall based on intellectual property built by them that could be accelerated on purpose-built silicon so that they can actually provide the integrated services that were the dream. So while I was at Disney, we had an IPS box, many IPS boxes, proxy servers, SOX proxy servers, AV inspection engines. We had ICAP redirector engines, we had FinGen integration, we had so many different places that traffic was moving to try and provide the security footprint that we needed at Disney. Today, because of the stuff that Fortinet has created, you can do that all from one box. You can do that FortiGate accelerated virus inspection on the FortiGate firewall. You can actually protect yourself against today's lethal botnet community, which is huge in advanced persistent threat protection. Web filtering, app control, intrusion and vulnerability protection. What makes us different than everybody else is not only that we accelerate it where they don't, because they can't. They don't own the technology. We can bake it into our purpose-built silicon because it's our technology. So one of the first things customers think about is, can Fortinet do it as good as my vendor does? So let's just take one example, the VV100 testing of antivirus vendors out there. And Fortinet subjects themselves to testing by the VV100 reactive and proactive virus testing every month, happens every 30 days, and we always score top 5. You'll see us here at Fortinet, top 5. You'll see other vendors that compete with us not doing as well. Sophos, Checkpoint. These are like vendors that only do AV at some point in they grew up as an AV company, getting beat by FortiGate's inspection engine. So, tantamount to the inspection engine we put in our product, we are the most tested third world firewall that's out there. No one subjects themselves to more testing than we do. Keeps us honest. Let me now go to Awestruck, which is a user behind a FortiGate firewall. User actually connects to the network and actually checks to see which wireless network he's connected to, and then goes ahead and promptly tries to connect to the public internet, and is redirected to Services and Agreement portal. You don't have to have that portal turned on, but the capability is there. A lot of our hotel customers or restaurant customers put up these terms and conditions portals for the customers to agree upon access. And then this company here forces the user to log into their local directory, Active Directory architecture. This is Joe.Fortinet logging into the AD for access to the public internet. And we automatically redirect them to beam.com. Upon access to the FortiGate firewall, if you so program it to, will redirect the user not to their home page, but to the page you want to come up first. Okay, you'll notice up here the Forti bar, that's going to come into play in a little bit. But one of the things we do on our FortiGate firewall URL filtering engine is we allow you to control the amount of time that a user spends surfing certain categories of web content. In this case, the content is Amazon, which automatically means shopping. You'll see here we have a web filter quota. We'll zoom in on that shortly, but we can limit users by the amount of time they spend surfing or the amount of bandwidth they use while surfing. So 1 or 2. Usually it's a time-based limit where you give them an hour a day, and once they've used up that hour, they cannot surf any longer. Sometimes it's a bandwidth quota, but that's less often, less common. So you see, user here is shopping for their Justin Bieber Fever Mania stuff. And user wants to buy, maybe this is a gift, or maybe Joe Fortinet's a fan, he wants a tote bag for 26 cents there, but he's used up all his shopping time, now he's blocked. Another thing we have in our URL filtering engine is safe search controls. Whenever you go to search portals, we can inject safe search scripts that force the searching mechanism to actually bring up safe search results, keeping some of those teenagers from getting some stuff that they know what to look for and they know what the return's going to be without filtering. Then user here tries to go gamble and gets blocked by our gambling-based categorization blocks, and will now try to evade our gambling-based block by going to a gambling site that is lesser known and not categorized. And it also is blocked because we are blocking unrated sites also. Now user wants to go to Facebook and has the right to proceed and override a block. Teachers use this a lot to override blocks for students at the K through 12 sector of schools. Not so much at enterprises, but K-12 school districts do it. So we'll allow you to go to Facebook. If we block it and allow overrides, we'll allow a supervisor to override the block. That's true of any website. In this case, Facebook was used as the example. But we can block portions of Facebook that we don't want users to have access to, such as post or game playing. And you'll see some of that play out here as Joe Fortinet tries to do everything he can to avoid work. So Farmville here is going to get blocked. And we do have client-based controls that are available too that can be managed from the FortiGate firewall. So you can manage your FortiClient posture on a PC with a role set from the FortiGate firewall that is pushed down to the PC. And I'll show you more on that a little bit later on. But this user now wants to actually go see this Rick Roll that comes out like that. So we can actually limit bandwidth. Now let me pause there. So now we can control the content they can see, we can control the applications that they have access to. We can control the rate of bandwidth that we give them on a per IP basis, on a shared basis, or on a per application basis. So basically, if I don't want people using Netflix in my architecture, I'll give Netflix 10 kilobits per second of access speed. Why block it? Just make it miserable so they don't want to use it. That works too. So, many ideas on how to spin and use that feature. So, you'll see up here on the Fortinet message bar, for some of the applications that are being blocked, we'll give a message. We were asked to do that by K-12 and by enterprises because previous versions of our code, we're talking about a couple years ago, we wouldn't actually tell you why you were blocked, and we found that that caused too many phone calls to network control to occur. So now a user tries to evade security by using a proxy, a public proxy server to evade security. Because we are, we have our own inspection engines. We are aware of the public proxy servers, IP addresses, bad IPs, bad domains. We can actually put those into policy to block users from evading security. Because that's what it's about at the end of the day. You put security in place, people are going to try to evade it. You got to be able to handle the evasions also. So now the user is going to Bing.com to do a search, I believe. And I think he's going to try to evade security. So, obfuscations are presenting data that will be inspected in a format that the inspection engine is not programmed to look for, thereby allowing you to evade security. Well, this is a very common evasion for evading URL filtering engines or web filtering control engines. You basically, instead of putting the name in there like Bing.com or the name like or the IP address like hit me on this IPv4 address, let's convert this IP address to decimal notation and let's see if this thing is looking for obfuscations of the URL. So he's going to actually get the IP address of the site he wants to hit, which is kproxy.com, and he gets the IP address of that location as 204. Whatever the 3 other octets were. And he's going to type those in there and try to obfuscate them to decimal code here. And he's going to take that decimal code and he's going to put it in his URL filtering engine. And if the engine is programmed to look for that obfuscation, it'll catch it. FortiGate firewalls have full fault heuristical analysis, so we automatically recognize that and block it. Other engines, many of the engines that you guys might have in use, might allow that evasion. If that evasion is possible, trust me, your employees will share it. So anyways, now a user is going to try to use Ultraserve to try and tunnel through the firewall. User actually starts the Ultraserve application and cannot connect to the server. FortiGate's application inspection engine caught it and blocked it. It's going to now try to use Spotify to try to evade security, and the FortiGate application inspection engine is not going to allow that connection to occur. So we're blocking these applications. We're blocking these applications using the application inspection engine of FortiGate, much like we did with Facebook and the Web 2.0 apps within Facebook. So now he's looking for a chat service that he can use, so he can actually open up a chat with one of his buddies, because all the other nefarious activity he wanted to do was not permitted. So now he's going to try and go to AOL Instant Messenger chat and find it's being blocked because instant messaging is a category that's being blocked. But there has to be a chatting engine internally for communications. That allowed chatting engine is Yahoo Messenger. So he's actually able to connect via Yahoo Messenger, and he's going to chat with his buddy Jim Fortinet. And Jim Fortinet sends him a URL. It's, anything that starts with tiny URL is usually kind of scary anyways, but it basically links to a site that has a drive-by download. Drive-by download being nefarious AV that probably is going to do something bad on your platform or your neighbors, or even worse. The reason we're able to catch that virus is because we do proxy-based inspection and not just stream-based inspection. So those crypto-locker victims that you're hearing about in the news, they're being protected by stream-based engines, not by proxy or full-fault heuristical analysis-based engines. So he says, buddy, seriously, that was a virus. And the chat continues. But these guys have a few more nefarious things that they're going to do that are not work-related. They're side-gig-related. And see, what the side business these guys have going on is something involving Social Security numbers, which plays into DLP. Who has DLP protection needs in the audience? Social Security numbers, driver's license numbers, hospital IDs, things of that nature. Okay, so he gets sent over a few Social Security numbers that he wants Jim to check out. So Joe sent them to Jim. Or actually, no, Jim sent them to Joe. And Joe's going to search and data leak detected. Social security number is not allowed. So, unbeknownst to Joe and Jim, for that matter, is Fortinet's logging all of this. All this activity that Joe's been doing pretty much shows what his complete day of work has been. Nothing but goofing around and trying to evade security. So all this is adding up. So Joe's going to come up with the brilliant idea of saying, I'm going to just evade this firewall entirely, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and light up my access point on my phone. Actually, Jim says, hey, just hit me on Skype, it's encrypted. Well, we can actually do deep packet inspection of encryption. So anyways, we are actually inspecting the tone of the Skype packet and not allowing it to connect. So I'll go ahead and push play. So that's how you evade security the easy way, is you just encrypt the traffic so that the firewall, or whatever is blocking you, cannot see the traffic to block you. I will jump on my iPhone hotspot. Let's evade security. So it's like using my Verizon hotspot there. Let's go ahead and evade the firewall and see if we can actually make some of these things happen. This is where the client comes into play. Lots of schools use this, where they're giving students Android Chromebooks or Android tabs or iPads. Students take them home and they actually connect to their home networks where there is no FortiGate security. Well, you can actually send the actual student-assigned device home with him with an actual policy on it that keeps him from doing the nefarious stuff that you don't want them doing on school-supplied equipment. So he's actually trying to connect to some of these websites that were blocked across the FortiGate firewall using his hotspot on his phone. He's going to try to go to, I believe he's going to try to chat via AOL. And the local client on his PC blocks it. So you can actually control the customer or the student or the employee from doing nefarious stuff on the device you give them when they're at the office or when they're connecting from home. I'll show you what it's like from the administrator's viewpoint. So you're an administrator, this is your user, Joe Fortinet in Florida, you're in Los Angeles, or you're in Las Vegas, and you want to see what Joe did today because you're actually doing a review of Joe.Fortinet for next year's pay increase, or let's just say just general employee review. So you do a run on to see what Joe Fortinet does on a daily basis, and this is your results. Well, right now the report's going to run. So here's the report. It's run. Now we're going to see what Joe's been doing. Now we could do this for everybody, or we could do this for just one individual. You can write custom reports to pull out any information you're looking for on the FortiGate firewall solution. In this case, Joe's been sort of an active bandwidth user, and you look at the applications he's been using, and you know that's not working. You look at the websites he's been hitting, and you know that's not work. You start to ask yourself, well, what does Joe do? And if you wanted to break it off on a time-by-time basis, you could do that too. But what you actually find out at the end of the day is Joe.Fortinet doesn't do a lot of work. And you can see that he actually hit one website with an AV file. And you see all the stuff he searched for while doing searches on his browser. And you see none of that really relates to work. So at the end of the day, you kind of realize Joe.Fortinet doesn't work a lot. But he's still getting a paycheck. So you can actually go drill down a little bit more comprehensively for all the traffic that's going across the FortiGate firewall. Let's say you wanted to baseline him against, you know, what the rest of the average looks, what the aggregate looks like, and you look at the top websites that are being hit, top visitors and websites. Do top applications, top destinations, break it down by sessions or break it down by bandwidth. Get a lot of visibility into what's going on across your network on a daily basis. And then as you pull out information that leads you to want to discover more information, you can actually go into, let's just say, the log view to see, and I think we go to log view here shortly, we'll see that RSH, which must be some kind of remote copy using port 22, is the most popular, and that explains the bandwidth counts. But Skype and Facebook are always up there in most organizations, based on my experience. So you can actually do users of Spotify and break down by user. There we go, log view. That's where I wanted to go. So in log view, you can actually search through the actual users and see what the users are actually, one specific user, whether it be a user or an IP address, see what they do around one of the actual variables available. There's lots of variables to choose from. The actual schema table is 6 pages long of things you can search on, and it gives you a lot of utility in how you generate reports for any purpose, but usually it's for executive review. And you'll see that Joe.Fortinet has pretty much spent most of his time on social networks and proxy avoidance, which is not a good place for Joe Fortinet to be right now. So all this reporting, and there's also more reporting that we did not do in this demo, in that we could have captured all that chat session and all that typing of characters and archived it for review, so we can actually dig in to what he did in chat. And that becomes a big issue when you're concerned with some of the activity and things that might be shared over a chat session. What kind of firewall are you running today?
Firewall.
Okay, so here's what we do. When you buy your FortiGate firewall, you come to us and we take your SonicWall config, we import it, and we spit it out as a Fortinet config, and we get you up and running quickly. It's kind of what I do for most of my retail customers that are going from SonicWall to FortiGate. Take their configs, spit them out quickly, and get them up and running. Because that's what it's all about, making it easy for you.